introduce our next presenter who focuses on turning every manager into an AI-ready manager. Please welcome Tara Cruz, partner at Gravy AI. Tara is a corporate AI enablement leader with deep expertise at the intersection of operations and revenue. With nearly 20 years of experience and extensive AI training, Tara creates efficient pathways to success through AI innovation. Over to you, Tara.
Thanks, Brandy. I'm excited to talk to everybody today about turning every manager into an AI-ready manager. This isn't a technical session. It's about how we as leaders can use AI to think more strategically, communicate more clearly, and help our teams learn AI faster. So my goal today is simple, just to show you how to make AI your partner in becoming a more confident, still human-centered leader. So like Brandy said, my name's Tara Cruz, and I'm a partner at Gravy AI. And we help train organizations in AI and how to get their entire workforce ready for AI and how they can continue to use that to be great in their roles, not only as managers, but as employees. So if there's one group that determines whether AI actually drives value in an organization, it's managers. So let's ground this conversation in what's actually happening right now. First, engagement is sliding. So Gallup just reported that only about 31% of US employees, I know we're in Canada, but it's probably very similar, are engaged. So that's the lowest in 10 years. And at the same time, AI adoption is uneven and companies are heavily pushing AI adoption, right? And so leaders and knowledge workers are trying to learn this as quickly as possible, experimenting, prompting, and integrating this into everyday work. But most employees are still behind. In fact, in 2025, 87% said they're not being trained properly on AI, and more than half of AI users reported getting no training at all on data security and risk. So that leaves us with a big gap. People who are really confident in AI and people who are left guessing. And when employees are left guessing, that means managers have to help fill that gap.
Tara,
So,
quick note that your screen is not shared. If
oh, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. Let's do that
Yep.
really quick. Okay. Now, thank you for letting me know, Julie. Here is some slides to back up what I'm saying. So before we get into some practical ways managers can use AI, I just want to pause and think about how I think about AI and how we should all think about AI. It's really a collaborator, right? The best way to think about this is a new employee who is eager to learn, but they have no context, no direction, and no feedback. And so they're really relying on you to provide all of that in the same way a new employee would. So you need to give it clear goals, background, examples, and help it perform well by giving feedback and continuing that feedback loop. So you want to make sure that you're not just asking a question and assuming it will give you the right answer. You have to provide it as much background as you would another employee. So where does AI fit into leadership? Like we want to make sure that we're bringing AI in, but we're still keeping our humanness as we think about that. So good places to add AI is in drafting and refining communication, designing agendas, frameworks, checklists, things like summarizing meeting notes or summarizing decisions and action items, brainstorming options and scenarios, and turning performance data into clearer stories. But we want to make sure that we're still bringing in that human side of management and keeping that one-on-one between humans. So AI is not a good fit for, keeping empathy and listening. Humans still have to do that. The judgment, right? So we want to keep that human in the loop and make sure the human's still making the judgment about people, performance, and fairness. That the human's still having difficult conversations and that we're using AI to help us with that, but we're still bringing in our thoughts. And then culture, values, and trust building, and finally, accountability for all decisions. So we want to keep that human-centered leadership. And the way we can do that is really focusing on these key areas. So we want to keep dignity, people feeling seen as humans, not just resources, clarity, expectations, priorities, and trade-offs are explicit, especially as we bring AI in. The clarity on what the output should be, right? Doesn't matter what tools you use, but here's what the output needs to be. Psychological safety. It's safe to speak up, disagree, admit mistakes, especially with a new tool like AI. Being able to admit where you don't know information creates psychological safety so that people can continue to learn. Growth, people are supported in learning and career development, and sustainable performance, output without burnout. And AI can really help with that, ensuring that people can get work done faster and still have balance in their life. So, what is psychological safety? Let's go into that a little bit more because we want to make sure it's safe to learn. And employees have some fear around AI and learning AI. And so we want to make sure that they feel safe to do so. So when people feel safe, they can learn faster, they can improve performance. They aren't scared to ask what some call stupid questions, and they don't hide AI usage or AI mistakes, right? It's really important that as a manager, you provide a safe space for employees to come to you if they have a bad output or they're not just creating AI slap, right? They're coming and saying, AI told me to do this, but I don't think it's right. Right? We were talking about how ChatGPT sometimes very confidently gives you wrong answers. If you believe it's wrong, trust your gut and help your team do that as well. So what you can do is model your own AI experimentation. We'll give a couple of ways you can do that. Celebrate learning, not just wins, but also things that didn't work out and that we learned from. We create that safe place to fail. And then we ask, what did we learn, right? And continuing to build these conversations with your team so that everybody is learning together. So you need to lead the way in terms of learning. You need to spend time with the tools yourself and see how they change the way that you think, plan, and create. So most managers think that AI is tools that their employees will use, but there's many ways that managers can also be using these tools to show employees how to do it firsthand. If you've felt the difference firsthand in terms of using AI, you're much better at understanding smarter decisions of when you should buy a tool to do that or when you could build that internally yourself using internal tools like LLMs and automation. And then your confidence will give your team confidence to also continue to learn and explore. So we want to help your team use AI to do what they do best. Managers that actively support AI adoption see employees 8.8x more likely to help AI helps them excel at their jobs. So manager support is a huge lever in AI adoption across a company. We want to have that bottoms up for employees learning and the tops down from leadership giving the permission to do so. But managers are a huge driver in actually making sure that employees are learning and adopting AI. And they move from curiosity to consistent impact, focused on integrating AI into real workflows that solve business problems. So you can clarify use cases that are top barriers to adoption and connect AI used directly to outcomes that matter. So managers can really help lead their team through this AI adoption and make this learning faster. And these are the most common things we hear from teams in terms of why they aren't using AI or why they aren't learning it faster. And the number one is people are too busy to learn. They're busy doing the work that they already have, and they don't have time to sit down and take a class. or they don't know what's safe to try. So many companies are still trying to figure out their governance policy, or they have a governance policy that is, many pages long, and employees still don't understand what they can do and what they can't do. Or they don't know where to start. If your company hasn't provided AI training, many employees are stuck on, do I learn prompting, or do I learn, like, where do I start my AI learning process? Where do I go? They worry about doing things wrong or being judged for trying, so they don't want to do it incorrectly. And they don't see how it connects to their real work. So if you don't understand AI, it's hard to connect it to what use cases you should do in your own job. Many managers may feel the same way about these same blocks. We hear these from people across all organizations and all levels, and they're really keeping teams from learning AI. So what we can do is see where we're all feeling right now. Like, what moment are we in right now? And you can just look at this list and say, where am I myself? And where is my team? Are we still exploring? Are we experimenting? Have we integrated anything into our workflows yet? Or am I a person that's like leading and shaping how AI shows up in my organization? If you can take that internal assessment, it then helps you say, okay, how do I move from the step that I'm in now to the next step? And that's the only goal, is to continue learning and moving from one step in this process to the next. We're all doing it, and we're all at some point in learning AI in our journey. So we all just want to take the next step forward. So some practical use cases for management. We're going to look at 3 today. We're going to look at making every one-on-one count. We're going to look at coaching and how to give better feedback for coaching conversations. And we're going to use AI to help us with our own leadership skills, not just our teams. So we're used to coaching other people. How do we also coach ourselves? So making one-on-ones more impactful. I always suggest, and I like to record meetings so that I have that information to be able to post transcripts into my AI and have fluid information from one-on-one to one-on-one. Not everybody likes to do that, but that's one great way that you can have consistency between your one-on-one meetings and help AI better understand what's happening in terms of the context. But ways, even if you're not recording your sessions, you can help clarify the purpose and do work with your LLM before the meeting to define why the LLM matters this week. So many times we show up to one-on-ones and we just focus on status updates because we don't have a plan for the meeting. But if we used AI to help us set up better agendas or what the purpose of the conversation is, we can show up as a coaching conversation or as an alignment conversation, and have an actual agenda based on either what our transcripts from previous meetings have said we need to follow up on, or on situations that have come up and you could give context for. So, X employee has missed targets. How do I help them continue to improve and hit targets? Or X employee is looking for growth in their career. How could I coach them to get there? So helping AI to help you prepare for meetings can be a quick 10-minute exercise before a one-on-one that helps you get the most out of that meeting. And it can help you really personalize for each person that you're talking to, because AI helps you target to exactly the context that you're giving it. So you can give it information about that person and really help it be personalized, which helps you show up more as a human and really empathize with that employee. And so I really like using this for one-on-ones because it helps me show up more as a human leader, even though I'm using AI to support me. So you can use this to support your one-on-ones, whether you're recording them or not. Secondly, you can help use AI to help you coach in conversations. Even the best managers have hesitation sometimes in giving feedback, and it's hard to sometimes find the right words. So you can provide clarity on what the goal of the conversation is to your LLM, you're correcting performance or coaching for growth. And you can give it what your assumptions are and get better understanding of, what if I'm saying this, how would the other person respond to that? And do sort of a rehearsal or a practice of that conversation so that you can go in more confident with your wording and refine the phrasing before you get into the conversation, which often gives managers a better confidence level going into these coaching conversations. I think using AI as to anticipate reactions is a really great way to do it. And I even like to sometimes turn on my LLM has a conversation mode where you can talk to it and say, act as this employee that I'm giving feedback to and tell me how you would respond. And so I can just speak into it and then it will speak back, which is a great way to practice. You can also use it to coach yourself too. I think many managers focus on coaching their teams, but also helping you as a reflection partner. So you can treat it as a private coach, like please act as my business coach and help me continue to improve. You can feed in any feedback that you've gotten from your team or your manager and say, this is the feedback that I've gotten. I really want to improve. How do I create a 30-day plan with action steps that would help me get to being more strategic, right? Which can often feel like a very generic advice. But if you use AI to help you turn that into action steps, it can be much more actionable. You can also, again, help it rehearse leadership moments. So if you have to go into a presentation or a conversation with your boss where you have to show up with performance metrics. You again can practice that role play and make sure you show up well. And you can give it that feedback about, here's the feedback that I have gotten in the past. How do I show up and improve that for this time? You can also ask AI to help you design daily or weekly micro habits that reflect the information that you've gotten and help you improve upon that. So any learning goals that you have, any new habits that you're trying to do, that can really compound over time if you break it into daily habits, and AI can help you do that. And so those are ways you can focus on helping yourself as a manager show up to conversations as a better leader using AI. You also want to make sure that your team is using AI and that you're all sharing these best practices with each other. And so there's 3 levels of sharing across an organization and learning. And we want to make sure that we think about all of those. So as personally, you're collecting prompts or building custom assistants that can access your own meeting recordings or documents that you've built. And so it creates sort of the second brain for yourself that can be used to learn and continue to improve yourself. But within a department, you want to make sure you're doing that across the entire team. So setting up ways that there's like a Slack channel or a Teams channel that the team can share prompts or best practices. A shared folder system where people can keep prompts that are shared across more than one person, or a knowledge base of context documents so that the team isn't duplicating work. So if you have brand guidelines of the tone of voice that your company uses, you want to make sure every employee is using that same one, especially within a team like marketing. And then at the business level, you want to make sure that you're sharing learnings across the entire company. So continuing to have places and spaces for everybody to show up and learn, blocking out time for learning for every employee, things like company wikis and shared knowledge bases, company-wide policies that everyone knows where they are, and structured data that every employee can use to continue to improve their AI. And I think as managers, we're often put in the position to determine what projects move forward. And so when you're thinking about AI projects, I want managers to think through what AI projects should move forward and which ones should, like, as you're prioritizing, think through these ideas. So, which ones are going to have the biggest impact on the business or on your team? How much effort are they going to take? Is this a small project or a really large one? With AI, you really have to think through the risk. What data is this using? Um, how long has the tool been, in service? Or is this tool something we're building internally? What are the risks of that? And then are we ready? Do we have the data that we need? Are the tools where they should be? Are we really ready for this project? And that will help you prioritize the list. You really want to pick something that gives your team time back, that helps everyone learn something new, that reduces the stuff that's burning people out. And so where I like to focus is like the boring middle stuff, things like summaries, first drafts, research, um, and really helping people see the benefit of AI. If you haven't done any AI workflow projects yet, really focusing on the stuff that frees people up helps bring them around to doing more AI projects. This is another way to focus on which projects to do. Really start with things that automate. So like I said, things like reports, summaries, status updates, do those right away. They're quick wins. Everybody starts to get engaged with AI and they start to feel the benefit of it. And then move on to augmentation. So these are more of the strategic bets, things that require a little bit more work, but focus on decision support, research synthesis. Those are the next ones I would take on after automation. Things you're going to skip for now are really complex integrations, unproven tools, things that can be a distraction. And things you want to delegate are personal assistants, things like custom GPTs or co-pilots that the team can build themselves with safe exploration. You're going to encourage that all day long while you focus on bigger projects that can help the entire team. So we've covered a lot today. I think the reflection I want everybody to take is just that we're all trying to move one step forward in our AI journey. So wherever you said you were today, just try to take one step forward and continue to learn. And that's helpful for every manager, and it's helpful for every manager to encourage on their teams. So this week, try to do one of these three things we talked about, or try to use the information we talked about to prioritize a project that you could take on so that you continue to move forward on your AI journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. If you have questions for Tara and you haven't already entered them in the Q&A, can you please do that now? We have one question here already, Tara. Can you give an example of augment that you would encourage your teams to use?
Yeah, so that would be like if you create research reports regularly, it would be, augmenting that with data collection. So I have a research bot that goes out and does the latest research on what's happening today, and it pulls that in. And I have something else that goes out and does more research, and it pulls it all in and it writes up the research report in key sections for me. And then I can go in and do the other sections that require a more human touch. So that would be like an augmentation where I'm sending out LLMs to do things for me and coming back and then augmenting the work that I'm doing.
Okay. In your opinion, can AI be used for organizational design and job evaluation?
Yeah, I think AI can help assist on a lot of these things. In terms of job evaluation, we want to be careful in how we set up those systems so that we're looking for things like bias and accounting for that. But I think AI can be used in many of these systems today. And I think we want to start with the ones that are least risky and get used to it because we're all still new to this, and then continue to move forward where we've taken learnings and can continue to move that out into other things that we do. But I think it can be used. You just have to, there's a lot of things you'll want to think about before you put that into real practice. And that could be something that helps augment today. So if you put a tool into place, it can give a leader information back and the leader still makes the choice. And so that can be one way that you can try it today without having it be automated and make a decision for you.
Okay. Do you have any advice for leaders who need to advocate to get their team's bandwidth so they do have the space to learn?
Yeah, I think one of there's a lot of stats out there that say teams who have access to an LLM and have been trained on it are anywhere from 20 to 40% more productive. And so I think we all are in this moment where we don't want to stop what we're doing to learn. But if we could just take a moment and pause and learn, we could be 20 to 40% more productive across an entire team, which the ROI of that adds up very quickly within weeks or months. And so I think bringing in some of those stats sometimes helps to take that pause.
Okay. Where are you finding the biggest pushback from employees when it comes to using AI?
Most employees realize that this is happening, and I'd say, majority, if not 80 or 90%, are all learning and moving forward. I do think there's some pushback in terms of fear of job loss, things like environmental impact. Those tend to be pretty smaller portions of employees today. But we do want to make sure that we're bringing every employee along in terms of time to learn and helping them continue to grow their career in terms of learning and using AI. I think when employees see the benefit to their own work and that they're freeing up their own time, that helps them a lot. But there's still, it's this balance between we're all going to learn and we want to make sure that we still have a place. And learning AI helps you continue to have that place.